Welcome to the Chronological Bible Journey, where we discover God's whole story one day at a time. I'm Michael. I'm here with Ben today, and we're going to be your guides as we discuss Acts. It is day 314, Ben. Let's do this.
All right, Michael. It's an exciting day. Today we are moving from the gospel era into the missions era.
Which is your favorite era?
I love this era.
The Bible, right?
As a missions pastor, it is one of my favorites for sure. Yesterday's reading and the beginning of today, we really see another test of the fledgling church. I'm reminded of Acts chapter 6. We observed really the test of unity. Would the church be able to stay together in the midst of disagreements over ethnic divides among Greek-speaking and Hebrew-speaking believers? What happened is the Holy Spirit provided a godly solution, and the church passed that test. In Acts 7, we learn about the stoning of Stephen. He was a deacon full of faith in the Holy Spirit, and this event ushers in the next test for the first century church. And I want you to read for me, Michael, Acts chapter 8, verses 1 through 3.
Saul was one of the witnesses, and he agreed completely with the killing of Stephen. A great wave of persecution began that day, sweeping over the church in Jerusalem, and all the believers except the apostles were scattered throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria. Some devout men came and buried Stephen with great mourning, but Saul was going everywhere to destroy the church. He went from house to house, dragging out both men and women to throw them into prison.
Wow. This next test of the first century church was the test of persecution. You see that the death of Stephen, it initiated this wave of persecution. And Saul, in many ways, was the ringleader. He was vehemently going after the church to destroy them because they were calling to question everything that he held dear in his worldview as a Jew. It says that he was going everywhere to destroy the church. And I'm grateful to say that the first century church passed the test of persecution. In the next verse, verse 4, it says, "But the believers who were scattered preached the good news about Jesus wherever they went." It reminds me of Acts chapter 1, verse 8. It says, "When the power of the Holy Spirit comes upon you, you shall be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and even to the outermost parts of the earth." And up to this point, it seems that very little was happening outside of Jerusalem. God was moving in such a powerful way that many people were staying in Jerusalem to experience the goodness and the grace of God. It reminds me of kind of a campfire. If it's a cold night, Michael, and you've got a campfire around, where do you want to be?
Next to the fire.
You want to get close to the fire. You want to feel that warmth. If the movement of God is happening in a city, we see it even today when God is moving around campuses on a college or in the church. People come from all over the world to get close to experience the warmth and the movement of God, much like we would get close to a fire. And I can imagine that those people that were seeing God move in Jerusalem didn't want to leave. But this persecution forced them to scatter, forced them to go to Samaria, Judea, and to the outermost parts of the earth. And what we see in Acts chapter 8 is we see Philip as an example of somebody that was scattered because of persecution, and he went to Samaria, right? Reminds me of Acts 1:8. Go to Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria. So what did he do? He went and he shared the gospel. The Lord showed up in a mighty way. We saw miracles happen, and the Spirit from there led him away from that movement of God into Samaria to minister to one person. I love that thought that we can be among a group and see great things happening, but yet the Lord will call us away to minister to one. It reminds me of that lost sheep that the shepherd would go after just to rescue that one lost sheep.
And it's another reminder that God just doesn't care about big crowds.
That's right.
He cares about the individual,
yes,
each individual person.
And what we see in the Ethiopian eunuch is a man who was searching. He was in Jerusalem worshiping the one true God. And the Lord saw him exactly where he was, and he brought Philip to him as he was reading the book of Isaiah, the prophecy of Isaiah that was talking about Jesus. That exact moment is when Philip showed up.
I always love it when I think of this account of just picturing this Ethiopian man. He's coming to Jerusalem to worship, but the Lord sees him. He also sees Philip where he's going, but then when he leaves, he knows, okay, I'm sending Philip exactly where he's going to be. Like I just always love to picture how the Lord did that.
And point that to our lives today. The Lord is moving and working in our lives to orchestrate our paths to cross with people that need to hear and respond to the gospel of Jesus Christ. So we see that, and we see the Ethiopian eunuch receives Jesus. He's baptized. Now, Michael, read for us Acts chapter 8, verse 39 and 40.
When they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord snatched Philip away. The eunuch never saw him again, but went on his way rejoicing. Meanwhile, Philip found himself farther north at the town of Azotus. He preached the good news there and in every town along the way until he came to Caesarea.
What a picture. It says that the Spirit of the Lord snatched Philip away.
Yeah, I'm thinking Star Trek right there. Just, just a beaming right there. It just took him away.
It's just amazing. Just whether he beamed him away or snatched him away quickly, whatever it is, it was a mighty move of the Spirit. Now, what I love is it says Philip found himself in this town, and then I love the end of verse 40. It says he preached the good news there and in every town along the way until he came to Caesarea. We talked a couple of days ago, Derek talked about as we are going, we are to make disciples. As Philip was going from Azotus to Caesarea, he proclaimed Jesus every step of the way. He was fulfilling the great commission that the Lord had given him. Now, when we see this persecution, it reminds me of a quote from an early church author called, his name is Tertullian. He lived around 200 AD. He wrote this: "The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church." The reality that when persecutions began to happen, it dispersed the church, and wherever the church was dispersed, those seeds were planted and sprang up and produced fruit. And Michael, today, as we look at the world around us, if you were to go and search up where is the Christian church growing the fastest, it is growing the fastest in the areas where there's the most persecution. Countries like Nigeria, China, India, Iran, these churches that are antagonistic to Jesus and the gospel is where the Lord is moving the most, because the believers there are so faithful that it draws people to Him. To know that in the midst of persecution, the church can and will grow, maybe even faster than in a country in a context like ours where we are freely open to share the gospel. It's just a unique reminder to us that Stephen was the first fruit of martyrs that would come throughout the decades following the resurrection of Jesus. And he planted those seeds that are still bearing fruit today. And martyrs across our nation and world today are still bearing fruit. Persecution leads to the seed of the church being sown all over the world. And it's just a reality that we live in even today. We go on in our reading and we see some miraculous things. We see the conversion of Paul, and we'll talk a lot about Paul in the coming weeks. The Lord meets him on the road to Damascus as he is going to persecute even more believers, and he stops him in his tracks, gives him a vision, causes him to go blind, sends him to Damascus. A guy by the name of Ananias, who probably thought he drew the short straw.
He's like, "God, why are you sending me to my death?"
Yeah. You want me to go do what? And so he goes and he meets him, and the Lord radically saves Saul. And all of that zeal that he had to persecute the church is now turned on its head to go and grow the church. And because of who Paul is and what he does throughout his life, it changes the face of Christianity and the face of the earth because of his faithfulness to go. And we've got more to come about him. It's just there's so much in these passages. I'm excited to be able to just talk a little bit about how persecution grew the church today.
Yeah. Well, what a great reminder, Ben. Thank you. And may we be reminded at home to pray for our brothers and sisters who experience persecution in their churches on a daily basis. May the Lord continue to do a great work in those churches and in our churches as well. Hey, thank you for joining us today. We have loved having you with us. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.